Hey guys, welcome back to We Are Judging You podcast. This is episode 15, Quince, in our native language in Texas. I'm George Edwards. I'm your host. Obviously, Murtaza Sudawarla is our co-host here. And we have a guest today, folks. We're going to talk to you guys about personal injury, and we're going to talk to you guys about why it could be important to have a specialized and qualified expert on your case to estimate your damages, what's happened in the past, how inflation might affect your future damages. All of that needs to be put into a report, and it's got to be explained to a jury. And there are companies out there who have a lot of resources in this space. And we want to expose you guys to it because you don't hear about it every day. So welcome Nadav to the show. I think Nadav is our second guest. Third guest. Oh, that's right. Gloria Tell was, yeah. So we've done medical management. We've had a guest personal injury attorney, and now we have a guest life care plan expert on the show. And so we do personal injury at ESS Law Partners. So that's going to cover your motorcycle wreck, your car wreck, your truck wreck, your slip and fall. That's close to 90% of the cases that are filed, at least in Harris County. It's going to be some kind of a case related in some way, form, or fashion to a personal injury. Okay. And so when you get injured, obviously you've got to prove up your damages. And in order to have all of that evidence entered in by the judge, you got to have an expert to back it up. And that is where Nadav and his company come in. So why don't you just tell us like a little bit about you guys and what you can do and how did you guys get started in this space?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we started the company in 2020. And then originally we thought we were going to do, 5 of these a month. It was actually me and my business partner. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a physician.
Got it.
But we were very heavily into the personal injury community in Atlanta, Georgia. And we basically figured out, that this was a real big need that was really up and coming, especially in the plaintiff space and personal injury. So we started the company. Originally, it was supposed to be, 5 or 6 a month. It was just supposed to be an adjunct product to a line of products that we were offering. But then because of just need and absolute demand, we are now, if not the second, we're top 3 largest life care planning companies in the country.
Wow.
Yeah. And why? Because attorneys typically settle on specials and they don't think about future damages, and they're just leaving a lot of money on the table if they're not considering that for their clients.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that I see just in my own practice is someone gets hurt. Say we have a case now, if there's a bad injury to the person's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now your hand is something that you use every day. You use it for your job, use it for your family. And so I think you're correct. When you go into a mediation or you try to settle the case, you're going to have your medical bills. Okay. And you're going to have mental anguish and maybe a little bit of pain and suffering that you want to sort of extract from that settlement. But a lot of people don't think about how is this going to affect me moving forward, like
Correct.
in my job, in my daily life.
Correct.
Okay. So for mental anguish here, we are forced to prove, in order for it to qualify to go to the jury, a substantial disruption to your daily life or your daily activities. Okay. And that's one category. But there's another category of how is your business going to be affected? What if you need scans over the next 20 years?
Right.
To make sure your hand is okay, or the next even 20 months. What is that going to cost? And if you try to extrapolate that in today's dollars, you have today's dollars versus tomorrow's dollars. So can you talk about that a little bit?
100%. So there's 3, well, really 4 reports that we offer.
Okay.
A life care plan, which is future medical damages, a vocational report with lost wages, which talks about your loss economically because you can no longer do the functions of your job. And then we also have Economist reports, which is present value of life care plans or present value of lost wages. So I'll touch on all three just very, very quickly. So your life care plan, of course, has future medical damages, injections, surgeries, medications, assistance with ADLs, physician visits, office visits, so on and so forth. What we have is a physician certified life care planner, who is a third party, non-biased opinion, of course, of what future medical care looks like through the client's life expectancy.
And they're typically physicians are doing this.
So life care planning has been around for 30 years. Up till about 10 years ago, it was primarily nurses, OTs, PTs, but primarily nurses. But as it's become a bigger tool in trial, it's a lot easier for a physician to discuss injections, surgeries, frequency of those injections, frequency of those surgeries, and the cost of those surgeries than it is for a nurse. So now the entire community really has shifted to a physician-based product.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Now, vocational. So I'll quickly touch on it, and if I'm running too long,
No, of course.
because I could talk about this stuff forever. So life care planning, while it will mention vocational loss or lost wages, like the physician, when they're interviewing the client may say, hey, I can no longer pay rent, or I can no longer do my job. They'll mention it in the life care plan, but they are not vocational experts. That is a totally separate report. A vocational expert will actually, the best way to look at a vocational report is it's an employability and earnings capacity evaluation with lost wages. Okay. So that's a separate expert when going into mediation trials or litigation. And then you have an economist. The economist needs the life care plan and the numbers, or needs the vocational report and the numbers in order to do present value. To your point, what people don't know is they think an economist is going to inflate the numbers. That's actually not correct. They deflate the numbers because they're giving you present value.
Right.
What's that dollar worth today? Right. And then break it down over 20 years. So a lot of attorneys, will hand over an economist report, and we don't necessarily use economists until it goes all the way, or we think it's going to go all the way. No. But a lot of times we'll hand them that present value of the life care plan that it went down.
Right.
So that's just something to.
Yeah. No, we typically, I mean, that's good to know about the economists. I mean, we typically in our practice, we are doing life care planners with doctors typically.
Great. Yeah.
But I mean, we've seen other professionals, and the vocational reports. I mean, that's an important thing. Usually in the commercial litigation cases that we have, we end up with economics because you got to look at the lost profits and.
Yes.
But no, that's good to know that you guys have that that access. So let me ask you. So regarding so and it's always fun to sort of share war stories to the extent that you can, right? So tell us, like, using your firm services, like what's like the best success story, right, that you've had? Again, without you don't
I certainly can. Yeah, we had a TBI pediatric case.
That's traumatic brain injury with a child.
Yes, okay, yes, thank you. We brought in an expert outside of our physician base. He was a specific TBI pediatric and PM&R physician. The initial offer was $0. Pre-trial, the offer was $3 million. Because of our expert witness testimony during trial, they settled for $55 million. Excuse me, not settled. The jury awarded $55 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a big one.
Yeah.
A recent one in New York, I think I was telling you, which was really kind of one of the very first. The jury considered every single line item of our life care plan because how we were able to back it up and how our physician testified.
Oh my God.
So a huge success. I think initial offer was $100K, and the life care plan at Futures was $995,000. They awarded them $1.1 million. So they literally considered every single line.
And that's a good point. I mean, you bring up like, there's like this whole rule of like the law of very big numbers, if you've heard of it, right? That no one can really quantify, the difference between 1 million and 1 billion. No one can actually, like, a normal person can't see the difference, right? It's just a big number, right? So I think sometimes, like, when we're going in and you're making the closing, argument to the jury, and you're like, hey, award us this, right? I think sometimes, especially in a county like Harris County, which is historically been a little bit conservative,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then now it's become a little bit blue because of the changes.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have like a working class population here, so
Yeah.
they're like, if they think you deserve it, they'll award it to you.
Right.
But if they don't think you deserve it,
Right.
they ain't gonna give you anything
Right.
because they're like, life is tough, right?
Mhm.
Right.
So we have to play with that a lot in Harris
Sure.
County. Montgomery County, which is the county north of us, right?
Mhm.
It's very different.
Right.
They ain't gonna give you anything unless
Right.
deep red, right? It's
Yeah.
like we say,
Put on your work boots.
yeah, it's I-45, so you're driving
Yeah.
up to I-45,
Yeah.
and it's like going 50 years in the
Yeah.
past.
Do not get arrested for any crime in
Noted.
Anyway, Fort Bragg County is the opposite. It's a little bit more liberal, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's if you can, anyway. So, your audience is really important, right?
Yes.
And what you're talking about, right? Like
Yes.
getting the 55 million in New York. I
Mhm.
mean, that's why George is New York barred, and
Yeah.
I'm about to soon to be in the New York bar, but
Yeah, but you are barred in DC.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so the point was that like you in your experience, you see juries really really respond to a very thorough analysis
Yes.
from the unbiased expert
Yes.
who basically says this is why you justify the 55 million.
Yes.
Right, and
Yes.
that's the main benefit of
Yes.
details.
Yes. And really, it's in a perfect scenario in trial, the life care planner comes at the end, right? So basically, the best way to look at a physician life care planner is they're not recommending care. They're just opining on treating physicians' opinions and then putting frequency, sequela of care, and cost of that care. That's it. That's kind of the overall life care planning goal. They're not establishing causation. Well, some will, some won't. But again, they're not making recommendations for treatment. They're just summarizing it and putting a cost on it. The other thing is between 55 million and million and conservative counties versus liberal counties. I think another mistake that attorneys have made that we kind of shed a lot of light on is most attorneys think life care plans should only go in catastrophic cases. And that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth.
Okay.
Standard life care plans is why we do such volume. A standard life care plan, the best way to think of it is policy limits $250K and up, but anything with a lot of chronic pain management, injections, surgeries, medications, that's a life care plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the biggest misconceptions in our world.
No, that's good to know.
Yeah. Look, so it used to be you could give the jury a stack of exhibits and they would CSI the case and kind of go through it and award what they wanted to award. Now you have to have someone come in and actually physically tell them exactly what's in those pages still. And you almost have to like put up a demonstrative exhibit. If your client says, I am in pain, you can't see pain. So you have to think of ways, how do I show the jury that at this particular point in time, when the client says my pain was 8 out of 10, that's an accurate comment. Okay? Assuming they don't automatically trust him or her, right? So one of the things that I'll do is I'll get blood tests done. Test your cortisol level. Do a graph. Here's at a very high point. Okay? So we know at that point in time, this was your cortisol level. You can reliably say you're in pain because your body is literally, you see the stress on the page. Okay?
Right.
And that's what you have to do with damages now. Is if you ask them for any number, you have to almost account for every penny that they might award you.
Yes.
And even if you get a jury that really likes you, likes your client, you might get appealed.
Okay.
And if you get appealed, then that's a whole nother set of decision makers that are going to come in and make you justify every penny that went to your client. I mean, I've seen a lot of good judgments get wiped out due to evidence being presented to the jury without an expert.
Got it.
So without a live expert.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. I mean, I could probably just touch on the evidence-based part, which is when it comes to costs and all the pennies, any good life care plan or life care planner will use minimum of 3 national databases to prove their costs, or what we believe, and not all life care planning companies are alike, but most are, at least the good ones, actual estimates are the most important. Why? Because our assumption is if that client is seeing that physician now, they're going to keep seeing them.
Okay.
UCR, not UCR, do they have insurance? Do they not have insurance? We don't have a we don't have a crystal ball.
Okay.
So we assume what they're doing today with actual estimates is the golden ticket for evidence-based to the penny.
So let's talk a little bit about the process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So your company gets retained to do a life care plan.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through the steps of the services you provide and where we can help as the attorney.
Oh, thank you. That's great. Most attorneys don't ask us that, so I appreciate that.
No, it's all the umbrella, right?
Yes, 100%. We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
You send in, you have a request for a life care plan. The very first thing is that we contact your client. So where attorneys can help us is let the client know that you're ordering a life care plan for them, and that LCP Pro may or may not be in touch with them within the next 48 to 72 hours. The first thing we do is we call the client. We make sure anything is what is current in their care matches the records that you sent us. And then after that, really our nurses and our physicians, who, by the way, and not every life care planning company, again, are equal. In my company, anybody who touches your client's life care plan is a certified life care planner, whether they're a nurse or a physician. That's really big for Daubert. Really, really big for Daubert. And by the way, in our 6 years, none of our physicians have ever been successfully Daubert. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. There's a few other reasons for that, but it's also because we keep a very conservative life care plan. So I'll speed through here. Records review. There's a little bit of a case management component when it comes to life care planning, because you have physicians and nurses all looking at records, and we don't necessarily care what happened before. We care about current and future care.
Got it.
So there's a lot of records review there. We'll see things like, Glasgow score of 13 in the ER, but they never got a concussion test, or they never saw a neurologist. Or we'll see a client going to pain management and getting NBBs and RFAs and ESIs, but they never got a surgical consult. The pain management physician married their client and they didn't outsource. So these are things that we're going to kind of point out along the way. And then what happens is, once we have a preliminary report, the physician then meets with the client. This is the heart of the life care plan. This is the kind of who they were before the accident, who they are today, and what they may need in the future. And this is really big during deposition and trial testimony, because it's the client and the physician speaking to each other for an hour. What's going on at home? How are you hurting? What do you need assistance with? What could you do before but you can't do now?
So there's going to be an interview.
There is a bit, yes, that is a huge component.
Yeah.
And then the second biggest interview is, which has become a really big deal in life care planning, is collaborating with treating physicians. So our physician life care planner will contact the one or two main treating physicians, i.e. pain management, ortho, neurosurgeon. That's very important to confirm care. And then the last part is you get the grids, you get the numbers, and you get a signed document with a expert witness.
No, and that's good to know. I mean, that's amazing that you're meeting with the patient. We've had experts, like, did you meet with the plaintiff? I just had a deposition last week. It was not a PI case. Like, asking, he's like, I've never met. I'm like, so you based your entire analysis never speaking, and that's like straight up like you're gonna get excluded.
Yes.
The other thing that's good to sometimes we get in the as the lawyers, we see there's a different world in the medical world, right? So that is, you mentioned one thing that really caught my attention, was that you actually give the plan for the plaintiff, who's the patient, right, in the medical world, but the plaintiff in our world, right, to actually fix themselves, to heal.
Yeah, they should be following a blueprint. So one of the very first things opposing counsel will ask our physicians during deposition or testimony is, when was the last time you spoke to a client? How do you know that they're following your blueprint? So that's everything.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, that's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of our philosophies here, is like, we want the patient to heal. When they come to us, we just had yesterday an intake consult. We said, look, first 6 months, nothing's going to happen until you finish treating. We need you to heal.
Yeah.
Then we can figure out everything that goes from that, right? So that's important, that it's also the future healing, right? Like, you can look at.
So where we start life care plans is exactly right. Somewhere right after about a year of injury, because that's where care is plateaued. We kind of have a clear picture of what's going to happen.
Right.
So that's when we really, not a lot, but there are certain groups that send us life care plans just too early.
Yeah.
They've seen a chiro, they've gotten an MRI. That doesn't help us. Yeah. So we kind of need to let it play out.
Yeah, of course.
And is it possible? Do you guys hold your charges till the end of the case, or how do you guys get paid over time?
Yeah. So one thing, just because we understand this space, we do offer at settlement uh, uh, payment for the attorney, because we know expert witness is very expensive. That's kind of where expert pays comes in as well.
Okay.
But for the physician or the expert witness, we pay them up front.
Okay.
So they're removed from any kind of how well did the case do or not do. That's very important. Very, very important in our world. So, and obviously you guys know that. So, but yeah, we do offer at settlement payments, and or we offer 30-day, but there's just different costs of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish attorneys' offices did better?
Yes.
Okay.
Records.
Records.
The only thing that holds it, so a standard turnaround time for a standard life care plan, not catastrophic, is 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
And then that just hinges on two things. One is, do we have all the records? Do we have all the pertinent records? Like, we're never going to hold up a life care plan, and no offense to physical therapists or chiropractors out there or PCPs. We don't care.
Okay.
Right? It's more pain. It's the big ticket. Yeah. So we want to make sure those records are clear, and then how long it takes to get in touch with the treating physician. So another way attorneys can really help is inform the treating physicians that, hey, we have a life care plan for your patient, our client.
Right.
Please make sure you're available to the life care plan.
Right.
That's a big deal, because that can sometimes go south pretty quickly.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. Yesterday, a good friend of mine, she's in the PI space. She shared a meme about like what do PI attorneys do, and it was like, the world thinks you're like just in your Maserati, your Lamborghini showing up, and insurance is just think you're the devil, and
right.
but like, and then everyone, your clients are like, oh, whatever,
Right.
But the final thing that she's like, what we actually are is like two things, right? Like on the phone, whole day, it's like,
Yes.
do this,
Yes.
do this,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is calculations, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're like we like Beautiful Mind, the movie, or something. So anyway, so it's pretty cool.
So if you don't properly evaluate your case, somebody else will.
Yes.
And it probably won't be in the plaintiff's favor.
Right.
No, I mean the insurance companies they have a calculation.
Right.
They've put your scores in. They know.
Oh, yeah.
They know. Like
Life care planning started on the insurance side.
Right.
Yeah. It was bean counters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, and now we're combating that insurance. I mean, insurance companies to me I've had a lot of exposure to them.
Sure.
And it out of the industry have the insurance industry, all these other industries have popped up.
Yes.
One of them is life care planning.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, PI lawyer industry that has exploded in just about every region. And so a lot of stuff starts. In fact, I think AI probably started with insurance companies, to be honest.
Probably.
They've had, different things like Colossus that have,
Yes.
they literally put your case in and it tells them, this is the value of this case. Here's the range.
Yep.
And if you can hit those ranges, I figured this out doing work with insurance companies. I knew that they had some kind of a program that we didn't have as lawyers.
That's
But it's like whenever we hit inside of the range, we could actually get something done.
Yeah.
And so now it's almost like the PI industry, because you've got AI out there now. Now the PI industry can AI their cases and present a counter.
Right.
Yes.
That when it gets plugged into sort of the insurance AI, it kind of has to agree with itself.
Yes.
It's a reasonable estimate of the damages.
Yes. There at least in the life care planning community, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. They actually just had a really big seminar. I think it was actually in Florida about AI and templating and life care planning, and that anytime you use AI, you absolutely have to show where you found it and why.
Right.
It's a really, or else the expert just gets thrown out. So it's moving very fast. We're going to probably start using AI in our world just because, for all the good reasons. But AI is as bad as, what's the saying? AI is as bad as it's going to be today, because it only gets better.
Right.
So,
or it takes over.
Or it takes over. Right. Well, that's we all saw that movie in the 90s. But
yeah. Great movie.
Yeah.
Well, we're still judging you, America, and I guess members of the public. Thank Nadav for coming on. I mean, this is where Leanne is going to insert a huge applause after we edit this. So this is episode 15. We'll be back next week with more information. Are there any other announcements we need to make? So I am newly barred in New York now. Murtaza is about to be barred
September.
in New York. Do we have any other announcements? We just did our spring fling.
Right.
That was a really good get together.
Right.
For clients and in my case, some of my family came. My parents
cool.
came.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And my baby niece came, so we all had a good time there.
We just rebranded our logo, so we
Nice.
wanted to debut have a party for the new logo.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, very cool.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, but my wife and my kids say if you see the lion, you can see the background. They're like, it looks a lot more like you. We used to have a lion before you there, so it's like it's chuckling. I was like,
Well,
I didn't pick it. My partner.
Right.
All right, America, we're judging you. We'll see you at episode 16. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.